Why isn't volleyball popular? I actually started writing the script for this video about 5 or 6 years ago. Can't even remember now why I never finished it back then. But after Arthur Shipilov released his video sharing his thoughts on the topic, I figured it was time for me to speak up too. In some points, I agree with him. In others, I don't, and in some places, I just want to add my own take. Which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to rank the problems by importance. I'll just bring up the topics I think are worth discussing. Let's start with the main thing. Volleyball is insanely technical and difficult. I'll mostly be comparing it to soccer and basketball. As kids, a lot of us imagined scoring the winning goal in a packed stadium or sinking the game winner at the buzzer. But a match point in volleyball, that shows up in childhood fantasies way less often. In soccer, it's simple. You go outside, throw down 2 jackets for goalposts. Boom, you're taking that decisive penalty kick. Found a hoop? You're throwing up a game winner at the buzzer, whether it's a mid-range jumper or a 3. But in volleyball, what's there to imagine? A beautiful ace, a powerful spike, okay, let's say a serve, but you need a net for that. And good luck finding one, it's way harder than finding a hoop or some makeshift goals. And if in soccer or basketball the ball will eventually end up in the net or hoop. Even if you're playing badly in volleyball, how are you supposed to jump serve if you touch a ball once every 6 months? People spend years mastering that skill, and here we're talking about a kid or a teenager. Good luck with that. Media activity. Also not so simple. In soccer and basketball, you have media leagues. YouTubers, streamers, former pros. The level might not be super high, but millions still watch. Could you have a media volleyball league? Theoretically, sure. In practice, getting 12 media personalities who can at least kinda play is almost impossible. And even if you do, it's unlikely to look appealing to a new audience. In soccer, you'll always find people who can knock the ball around a bit, and with good filming and production, you can make it look great. In basketball, you have short formats, 3x3 or 1x1, fast pace, small court, easy on the ice. Volleyball though? Recently I was at a Yaroslavich masterclass, trying for hours to film something dynamic and exciting. The guys playing weren't beginners, the result, nothing impressive. Maybe I'm just a bad cameraman, not ruling that out. But after me, a few other videographers tried filming too, and they left with the same disappointed look. And some of the girls there were even from sports schools. Now imagine 12 media personalities who barely play volleyball. What would we get? Most likely, something cringe-worthy. Maybe beach volleyball could work if you throw in stars from other sports. So here's where I've landed. The main reason volleyball still can't compete with media giants is simple. In soccer and basketball, you have iconic figures and modern stars that kids all over the world want to be like. But how often do you see a kid wearing a volleyball player's jersey? Not at a tournament, but just walking down the street. In volleyball, only a handful of players actually work on their personal brand, to the point where a fan comes to the arena to watch a specific player, not just the club's logo. Even big personalities like Yuji Nishida or Ran Takahashi, and we'll get back to them later, have fewer social media followers than an average level soccer or basketball player by world standards. Are the players themselves to blame for this? Of course, but the general atmosphere around the sport has played a role too. Remember, volleyball is a non-contact sport. No hard collisions, no trash talk, no heated confrontations, and definitely no fights. And we live in a world where drama always gets views. Negative hype spreads faster than any ace. In soccer, even the most well-behaved player will eventually get a tabloid publishing something juicy, and someone will definitely pick it up. In tennis, there's a certain player, I think you know who I mean, who became famous for on-court swearing long before his game made headlines. And let's be real, in soccer and basketball, there are so many transfer rumors that you have to filter them out. In the NBA, even in the off-season, there's more news than volleyball has in a whole year. In our sport, I sometimes struggle to find anything worth posting on social media. It's all too squeaky clean. Mostly verified news, no rumors, gossip or unexpected leaks. As a result, volleyball comes off as a sport for gentlemen and model family men. But trust me, professional volleyball has plenty of not-so-saintly characters who have done things that would make even the wildest soccer player jealous. But all of that gets carefully hidden so as not to damage the reputation of the clubs, leagues, or the sport itself. Conflicts get swept under the rug, and disagreements never see the light of day, even after a player leaves a club. Salaries, total silence. People often ask me to make a top highest paid volleyball players list, but there's neither solid data nor even half-decent rumors. Even injuries are kept under wraps. In the NBA, they'll report every little injury and give a recovery timeline. In volleyball, a player can just disappear for a couple of years, and nobody will say what happened. When it comes to player stories, it's all pretty flat. In soccer and basketball, star biographies rack up millions of views. In volleyball, nope. I made Play Like a Pro episodes about players with really tough life journeys, but the metrics showed that people were more interested in technique than the athlete's personal story. Podcasts? Same story. Even back when YouTube was flooded with interviews, volleyball podcasts never really took off. The Out of System channel did tons of great interviews, but even the one with Semyon Nikolov, whose highlights get millions of views, didn't break 100K. Taylor Averill had conversations with interesting people, diving into personal topics and behind-the-scenes stories, but it didn't get mass attention. Meanwhile, under his highlight videos, comments like "Where's Ben Patch?" would rack up more engagement than the actual podcast where Ben explained it. And here's the core issue. Globally, volleyball audiences really only care about highlight compilations. Everything else struggles to get traction. But even those highlights are mostly watched by people already in the know. People who understand the difficulty, the speed, and the beauty of a play. For an outsider, volleyball might look boring. Not for nothing do you often see comments calling it an AFK sport. In soccer and basketball, even when a player doesn't have the ball, they're moving somewhere. In volleyball, if you don't have the ball, you're standing and watching. I remember playing with some guys from the gym. They kept saying the game was boring and had little movement, but they were always surprised at how I managed to be in the right spot to attack or dig the ball. By example, I showed them that this is far from an easy sport, like it might seem from the outside. By various estimates, about 1 billion people play volleyball, but I'm almost sure that number includes people who just toss the ball around in the park. They don't know the rules, they don't compete, they're just having fun. And they have zero interest in what's going on in professional volleyball. Yet, you'd think it wouldn't be that hard to bring them to matches or get them into a training program. Here it is, the path to making volleyball mainstream and more popular as a product. We need to be closer to our potential audience. That's all. Let's start with a simple example. You see a group tossing the ball around in a circle, or some kids playing on the street. Why wouldn't a pro volleyball player spend 10-15 minutes just playing with them? For them, it's a wow moment. There's a cool player, I want to play like them. Or show up at a regular PE class where volleyball is part of the program. Show firsthand just how awesome this game is. You don't need to go full power here. Even serving at 30% of your max can impress a beginner, inspire people early, and it's easy to bring them into the sport we all love. Remember the movie Final, dedicated to Russia's gold medal at the 2012 Olympics? The movie itself was, to put it mildly, pretty bad, but I found out that the actors, who had never played volleyball before, got so interested during prep that some even started training regularly afterward. That's awesome! It means we need open practices and clinics, not the constant "our schedule's too packed" excuse. Yeah, I could talk about media growth forever, but let's move on to actual case studies that have already worked. First-person volleyball. The hype has died down now, but at the time it was almost everywhere. Sure, pros and hardcore volley nerds didn't always get why anyone would watch it, but for me it was obvious. It's a way to convey the real pace of the game. Even at a mid-level it looked lively. Technical actions, emotions, celebrations. Things regular match broadcasts barely capture. But the number one example of bringing in a new audience, Japan. No matter how much people hate on their national team or their league for undeserved attention, they're doing massive work to promote the sport. It all started with the anime Haikyuu. This sports series became the main driver for the growth of volleyball players. Not always future pros, but that's not even the point. Unlike over-the-top sports anime with superpowers, this one is as close to reality as possible. Add in a good storyline, well-developed characters, and a useful educational element, which I mentioned in my reviews, and you've got a formula for success. Then the Japanese national team basically became haiku, in real life short by elite standards, but achieving big results, playing exciting volleyball, and having their highlights go viral across social media. The hype is well earned. And that's not all. The Japanese league wants to become the best in the world. Maybe they won't manage it competitively, but from a marketing perspective, they could be a giant. In Japan, clubs and their stars are constantly involved in media activities, meeting fans, holding clinics. Not once a year, for show, but systematically. They even have their own gimmick, a ceremonial first serve. They invite media personalities to serve the opening ball. It doesn't always go well, but the gesture itself matters. I tried suggesting this to a Super League club here. Turns out it's simply forbidden. No clear reason. I hope someone from the VFV sees this and maybe changes that. And to you, my subscribers, I suggest we launch the hashtag #ServeTheBall if you'd like to see this tradition at pro matches. Also, all-star matches. In Japan, they put on an awesome show. The level of play wasn't incredible, but as entertainment, it was fantastic. Social media went wild. I wish every top league would do this. So, to sum it up, yeah, you could accuse me of not making pop content for the masses. I chose the hard road, explaining unpopular topics, digging into details. I'm slowly moving toward more mainstream content, but I don't want to completely change course. Not because I don't know how, but because I'd stop enjoying it, and I always say, you have to love what you do. Alright, that's it. Like I've said before, this topic could be discussed endlessly. Copyright issues, streaming quality, the dull Champions League. Maybe it's material for another volleyball podcast with minimal views. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video and write in the comments why you think volleyball isn't popular. I'd really like to read your thoughts. This was Nick. Love what you do and you'll definitely succeed. See you soon. Bye.